Okay, welcome to Frickin Scary with Holly and Melorie. Today is Saturday, February 20th. This is officially our first episode. We wanted to start with a little intro about ourselves, give you some backstory, why we're here, why we're starting this podcast. Melorie and I met 100 years ago. Sophomore
Closer to
year,
120.
120. Sophomore year of high school. I was doing a Sally Jesse Raphael impersonation, and Melorie caught me. Do you remember
What?
that? Yeah.
No.
Do you remember that at the lunch table? I was doing an impersonation, and she thought I was funny. And she was really sweet. She invited me to hang out with her friends, which at the time she didn't know I was like a loner, so I had no friends. We bonded really quick. Great group of friends. Absolutely still love them. We're friends with everybody to this day. But we found out early on that our obsession with all things scary was a shared obsession. So a few weeks ago, Melorie asked me, "Hey, do you think it'd be cool? Like, let's do a podcast." Of course, I immediately said yes. And we kind of kicked around a few ideas, but we both decided all things scary all the time we know what we're talking about. So let's kick it off with our very personal scary stories. And I'm going to let Melorie go first on this one.
Okay. So like as a little disclaimer, I am not nutso. I'm a normal person. Okay.
Certified.
Yes, I'm a God-fearing woman in a way. I got kids. I'm married twice. So I'm like a normal person. All right.
Sure. Sure.
Well, all right.
Believe me, I'm not crazy.
But when I was about 17, maybe 16, I noticed that there was, I want to say, spirits following me, because I don't really believe in ghosts. I believe that it's more like maybe like an entity, like a spiritual entity was either following me or just attached to me. I don't know. But okay, let me set the scene. 17 years old, I lived in California. We'll just say California. My parents had a house that also had a back house in the back. It was like a little granny house. And the oldest kid in the family that was still living at home got to live in that little house, consecutively. So like my sister went and she lived in that little house. That was like her bedroom. And she went to college.
Right. I forgot she was
Yeah.
back there first.
For a while.
Which makes this story even better because you know the truth behind it. Because someone already lived there before you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I bet you she brought it around. She was always so evil. But anyways.
She's gross. Okay.
But okay, so then she went to college, and then I was in 10th grade when she left. So now I got to live in there. So it was just a very little house, one bedroom, like a little side den off the corner, a little kitchenette, and a living room and a bathroom connected to the bedroom. So one night I was sleeping, or about to go to sleep, I should say. I was like in between sleep and being awake. And I heard talking towards the living room. Now, I was laying with my back to the door, which connected to the living room. So for me, I thought it was my radio, which was to my back, because I always used to fall asleep with the radio on 99.1 KGGI.
Oh my goodness. Old school. Okay, bringing it back.
So I always used to fall asleep, and I thought, oh, I left the radio on. I got to turn it off because it was waking me up now. So I turn over to turn it off, and the talking stops. And I'm like, you're half awake. So I was like, all right. So then like, I just like close my eyes because like I look at the radio and it's off. I close my eyes again to like go to sleep. And less than like 2 minutes later, I hear the voices again. And now this time I'm like, what is that? Because now I know it's not the radio.
My hair is standing up. Okay, go ahead.
I know it's not the radio. And now because I'm a little more awake still, I can hear it's coming from the living room, and I can hear that it's at least 3 voices, 2 male, 1 female. But they're speaking so low that I can hear them, but I can't make out what they're saying.
Right.
And then like my eyes open and I shift. And again, the second I moved, the voices stop. And it was almost like they could hear me. So they stopped talking, but they didn't go like away. Like I could feel something in the living room. You know, when somebody's in the room, you
Yeah,
know that
you
they're in
feel
the
like a
room.
presence. Yeah, like energy.
Exactly.
Yeah, something.
Exactly. The atmosphere shifts the second somebody walks into your room. That's how I could tell somebody was in there. Now I didn't jump straight to ghosts. I jumped to somebody is in my little house and about to kill me. You
Yeah,
know what I
because
mean?
we lived in the desert and it was
And
pretty,
people were crazy.
yeah, pretty ghetto.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just like, oh man. So I just laid very still for a while. And when the voices didn't kick up again, I got up, looked around the corner, and it was like, nobody's there. I checked the doors, I checked the windows, and I was just
And
like,
you're all alone, right? Like no one else
no
lived
one else.
there, no one came out
Uh-uh.
there.
Mm-mm. And it was like, I don't know, maybe close to midnight. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what time, but it was definitely pitch black dark. And I was going to bed. So obviously it was late. And the thing is like, if it was a human being that was coming back there, like my family, somebody, my dad had built these walkways from leading from the back door to the little house, leading
Oh
around like
yeah.
little walkways because we lived in the desert. So it was all dirt.
Yeah.
So he used pallets to make walkways that he just kind of just stuck together. So when you would walk on them, they would shift and hit each
Yeah.
other. And
Yeah,
so
I
it would be
remember. Yeah.
yeah. So like even if the dog walked on them, you knew the dog was coming. You knew a person was coming. So I didn't hear any of this and I would have been able to. So I knew it wasn't a person at that point now. And so I'm just like, I didn't really know how to explain it. I just kind of had to ignore it. I started thinking ghosts because obviously you're all by yourself and you're scared to death, but you know, whatever. But I didn't say anything to anything. I didn't even say anything to my parents because, first of all, I thought they're going to make me go and live back up in the main house because they're going to think it's a person, you know. And I was like, I don't want to have
Right.
to go live up there. It was nice to have your own space when you're
Like a
15, 16
person
years
wandering
old.
around your neighborhood and they would be
Exactly.
afraid. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't say anything to my parents. I didn't say anything to my friends because my
No.
friends were going to think I was crazy,
No.
you
And
know?
I'll respond to that when you're done. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course you will. You'll tell me the truth. Um, so, you know, I didn't say anything. Then some time goes by. I noticed other things started happening in my little house. Like I used to have this touch lamp and it would go off by itself. And it was a touch lamp that would go from like dim, brighter, brightest.
Right.
And it would like go dim and then it'd be like brighter, brightest. And it would do it like consecutively. And I'd be like, what the heck's touching this thing? Like, is it a bug? Is it dust? I don't know. Maybe those lamps go off by themselves, but this thing was just go off at random times. Um, I would see people walking around the house because there was windows on either side, like all on all four sides. So I would see somebody walking like a shadow at night and I could follow it through the windows and I'd be like, what the heck? But they weren't making noise on the walkway.
Not okay.
So I was just like, I don't know, you know? So one day we have a party, like a spaghetti party. I think this was the night that we had the spaghetti party, right? Remember that?
Yeah, yeah, we made about 200 pounds of spaghetti. We had no idea what we were doing. And up until this point, this is what I will respond with. Up until this point, Mallory, you've never mentioned it to me. You never mentioned it to a friend. And this is someone who is like super highly intellectual, like straight
Yeah.
A student, very
Yeah.
grounded. Like she's not a person who even believes in anything. So
Yeah, I mean, like I believed in God and stuff, but like barely. It was like
right,
mostly because my parents made me go to church,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying this is a sane person that we're, talking about.
yeah, I'm sane. All right. Sane.
Why always to the fist?
Because if you don't believe me, I'll hit you.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. So 200 pounds of spaghetti.
Yeah, we did this because we had our own little space back there that we can hang out with. We invited like all our friends. we made the spaghetti because it was the easiest thing to make, and it could feed a lot of people. And we had like a little get together, and then the girls, like you, Marissa, I don't know if Anna spent the night. I think Alma spent the night.
Mhm.
And these were just our friends from school, like our best friends spent the night. And during the night, I believe you and Marissa, I know you for sure heard something.
Yeah.
So during the night, I guess you guys heard
Well,
something because
okay, so to preface it, Marissa and I were asleep in the living room on the
yeah, Anna was
couches,
in my
and
bed.
you and Anna were in the bedroom.
Okay, yeah.
So not only were we not even like together to where you could be like, oh my gosh, did you hear anything? We were separate from you and
Yeah.
had this experience, but can continue.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I didn't hear anything that night. I guess you guys did, because the next morning you told me, like, Melorie, there was something in your house or something. I don't remember what did you say? Do you remember what you said exactly?
So here's what I remember. And Marissa and I did talk about it after, but we heard someone running around the house, full speed, like running around the house. And then we heard people on the roof. So like their physical bodies, but then we heard them talking from the roof. So and Marissa's a dead sleeper too, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows this, but
She'll sleep all night, all day, and then get pissed at you for waking her up
correct.
at 5 p.m. 2 days later. Like, correct. I didn't get enough sleep. Like, yeah, she was like that.
So it even woke her up, but she was sort of like in that sleepy days of like, whatever. And I was like, no, we're about to get murdered. Because it sounded like real people. It sounded like it's all dirt. So it's all dirt around the house. So when someone's running in the dirt, you can hear the scratch of it.
Yeah. And obviously your mind goes first to murder, not, ghosts.
Right. So I didn't sleep very well. I did finally fall back to sleep. And then the next day I remember telling you, and this is before you'd said anything to us. No one knew what was going on. And then you were like, yes, so.
So let me tell you guys something, and I hope you'll be my friend still, but.
Yeah, it was creepy, but anyway, continue with your story.
So then, so you guys told me that. And then that's when I knew, like, okay, I'm not crazy, because I also kind of thought I was crazy. Like I was hearing things like I was, I don't know, schizophrenic or something. But so that's when I knew I wasn't crazy. And I did hear something, and there was something around. So cut to, okay, this was like, let's just say I was 16. I want to say I was 16. Cut to 4 years later, I'm 20 years old. I'm now married. I have one kid and one on the way, living in Texas now. How do I say this? Okay. So my daughter has always been very vocal. Like, she spoke at a very young age and very clearly and very intelligently. I don't know, maybe it was all the Dora she watched. I don't know, but she always could express herself very well from a very young age. So I haven't really seen the man in these 4 years. Oh, I should preface it that I call him the man now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I call him the man. But I call him that now, but I haven't experienced really anything in these really 4 years to speak of. Maybe because I was ignoring it, maybe because I just don't remember. But honestly, I don't remember seeing it anymore.
Well, you had your babies, and
yeah, right. Like I was getting married. I had that whole thing going on with like Anthony. Remember in high school where like I wasn't allowed to, like, it was a drama. So I didn't have time to pay attention to
stop
this.
and you couldn't stop and think about it.
Yeah. But now things are settled. I'm married to Anthony. I have my daughter, and I'm pretty sure I was pregnant. Pretty sure I was pregnant already, or maybe I already had my son. But anyways, we're living in Texas. It's one night that we are laying in bed. It's all black except for the TV. The TV is on one end of the room. My bed is right across from the TV, and my daughter's bed, her little junior bed, is like right next to my little bed, like my bed. So it's like right up against it, because we're trying to teach her how to sleep out of our bed, but she didn't want to be away from us. So like her little bed's right next to ours.
Right.
And then the doorway is right next to her bed. So we're all laying in bed watching TV, and it's all dark except for the TV. And my daughter goes, "Mommy, who's that man?" And I go, the man. I said, the man on the TV, he's just a man. And she goes, not that man. Because she was like mad, because she would get mad when we didn't understand her. She'd be like, not that man.
How old
like,
was she? Like 4?
2, like almost 3. Like she was very young.
Yeah.
So like, but she spoke so well. I think that's what made it creepy. You know, like when little kids can speak so well and like their little voices and they'd be like, I'm gonna kill you. You know, like
okay,
it's
Red
so
Rum.
creepy.
Okay.
I'll be like, Red Rum. That's what made him so creepy, because it was like this little kid dealing with this like adult thing in The Shining. Anyways,
and
creepy
she's
little
all
kid.
innocent too, so she's
and
not like,
and she's just asking a question.
oh man,
You know,
what happened?
so she was just like, not that man. She goes, that man. And I look at her, me and Anthony look at her laying on her bed, and she's pointing at the doorway, and it's completely dark in the doorway, doors open, can't see anything in the hallway, can't see a man standing in the doorway.
Right.
But she's looking up at him from her bed and like pointing. And we're like, me and Anthony just kind of like look at each other like,
oh no.
And he already knows about the high school thing, because I don't think he was there at that night. He wasn't there. I didn't know him yet. But he already knows. And he and I just like look at each other and we're like, and he gets up real quick. Obviously, he's not really thinking ghost. He kind of is, but he's not. He's first going to a human being go by.
In fact, you've told me Anthony like didn't even like, he doesn't believe in any of that until a second experience, which we'll get to later. But until that experience, he was like, this woman's crazy.
Yeah, my wife is crazy.
Yeah.
But so he gets up, he runs out, he goes down the hall, goes down the stairs, checks out the house. Nothing's there. Me, I'm just kind of like, please don't be starting again. Like, I thought this was over. I haven't seen it in a while. Please don't be happening again. Because now my husband, who's already teetering on his own sanity at this point.
Right. So Anthony was in the military.
Yeah.
Dealing with PTSD and dealing with all that stuff.
And he's already on edge all the time. Like, I did not need something else stressing us out.
Right.
You know, when we already have real life stuff stressing us out.
Right.
And so he didn't see anything. And I'm just like, ugh. And that was just sort of the beginning of my story with this entity that I now call the man, because I think because she called it, who's that man? And
from what you've told me, it feels like
a male presence.
Like a male presence. It doesn't feel like
and it also looks like a man. It has the shape of a man.
Right. And we felt that night in the little house that it sounded like a man. It did not sound like a woman.
Yeah.
When it was talking on the roof. So,
what?
Yes. I told you this when there was voices on the roof. You know, we heard like feet, and then we heard voices, low voices. Yeah. So unbeknownst to me, Mallory was basically being haunted. And I think out of pure embarrassment, hadn't told anyone, because if you tell anybody that, they're like, okay, let's put her in a straitjacket.
Yeah. Or let's just ignore her. Let's not talk to this crazy person.
Right. So let's lead into that. So Mallory had talked about her not being extremely spiritual or believing in any of that. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm super spiritual. I believe totally in like good and bad spirits. I believe that we are spirits. I believe that I
believe in good and bad spirits. I believe more in like angels and demons. I just don't think like once you die, you come back as a ghost and you're like, Bob Marley or whatever that Marley is from Christmas Carol.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Well, not Bob Marley. That's the same guy.
I was like, wait, Bob Marley? I mean, he has passed on, but I didn't know he was going around haunting
Marley and Farley or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever his name was.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I think that it's like entities, just not ghosts. I don't know. I guess there's a difference to me. And see, there's probably a difference to you too. Yeah.
I actually don't. I don't necessarily believe in like if we're watching a scary movie. I don't believe in that. I just believe that there's some things that are so dark and satanic that they take on these spiritual forms, because the man is not a physical, he's not physical, he doesn't have like flesh and blood, but he
No.
has a presence that is very felt.
Well, the good man has a sort of a benign presence. The bad one, which I'll get to later on in other episodes,
Yeah.
he has a very
Malicious.
malevolent
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
Very malevolent. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I mean about like, I believe that there's different types of spirits. I believe that there's good and bad, but I'm very religious and I'm very spiritual. So I do believe in that, there's spirits who are here and they kind of are with us on our journey. And then there's spirits who didn't have the ability to obtain a body. And so they're fighting to get at those who have. And if you're not a religious person, that doesn't, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. But
it does. It kind of reminds me of that one movie Insidious, where they're like fighting to get into like the real world.
Yes.
But I mean, and that's of a more basic
it's
element,
like,
but
it's like you hear the stories of exorcisms. There's real documented stories of people having like true exorcisms of something.
Oh, I believe in exorcisms.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Right. So, so that's my preface and my disclaimer also, because my story is a little bit different than Mallory's. I do not have an entity following me around, but I do believe that I'm quite sensitive to energies, spiritual feelings. I get premonitions a lot. So like I even get premonitions about like, oh my gosh, I need to call my mom. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I was dialing your number right now. Like something bad happened. Like I've had that so many times. So I truly believe that I have some sort of like, I don't know.
Dude, you do. There's
You know what I
how many
mean?
times on Instagram have you like messaged me like a meme, which to you I'm sure is just innocent, just you thinking, oh, this is really great, I'm gonna send it to like 5-10 my friends, and you send it to me.
No,
you just send it to me. Oh, okay.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just sent me that.
Yeah, I've done that like at least 3 or 4 times.
Right.
Yeah, like
right.
At least. So
and
yeah,
you're not
I believe
the
it.
only person in my life who says that. In fact, every single person in my immediate family who's very close with me says that. They just like, as soon as even if someone calls me, I'll just know right away. And I'll go, I already know what you're calling. So, which kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Creepy.
So here's my true scary story that like is my personal one.
Okay, wait. First, before I say this again, I have to look behind me and make sure there's not like a demon. I feel like it's there.
Like, is there anybody on my jungle gym back here? So my husband had just joined the military. He was in basic training, and I was living with my dad in Utah. And my dad has a 2-story, but the bottom half was like half basement, half like level. And so my husband's in basic training. He's like a month or 2 in. It had been a while. And oh my gosh, I give my own self the chills. Like
I'm sweating. I'm sweating. You don't understand. I don't like to talk about this stuff only because I believe that it gives it more energy. So like this is hard for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to talk about the man because I feel like it gives him energy. So to me, this is making me nervous. I don't talk about him a lot because then he comes around more. So this is making me sweaty. So I get it.
And I've only shared this experience with, I think, 3 people, yourself included, because it was one of those experiences. So I'm downstairs, and at this point I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and the downstairs had several bedrooms, but I was alone. My husband wasn't there, so I always had my kids with me. And so we're in the bedroom. It's probably midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, and I roll over. My kids had watched a movie to go to sleep, and the TV, the little box that like bounces around.
Oh my God, that old DVD box.
Right. So that was bouncing around, which put a little bit of light in the room. But I immediately noticed that there was light coming from under the door. And so the bedroom butted up right against to the living room, because it was just a little like apartment style. So once you're out the door, there's like a little living room, a little kitchenette, and a little seating room off to the right-hand side. And so man, I am sweating. Like somebody spray me with some BO.
Oh no.
So
With BO or
I
to
mean, because
prevent
I
the
have
BO?
BO. So I thought it was odd. My kids are asleep and I'm all alone. And it's February. So it's cold outside, but it was very warm in the room. We were all snuggled up. So I'm like, oh shoot, I left a light on. So I open the door and immediately it's like a cold gust of wind. Like just like I opened it like I was walking outside. And I
Was it
was
a
like,
gust of wind or was it just
it
like
just it was
a
just so
change in
cold.
temperature?
Yeah, it was just so cold that it was so abruptly cold
So you could feel it.
that it just went on my face. Like, like when
Okay.
you open a freezer, sort of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know why I'm nervous. I don't talk about it very much. So
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm literally shaking. So I I step into the room and I realize one light is on. It's the light that's like over the oven. And if you're looking out the bedroom door, the oven is sort of to like my north, how do you say it? Like northwest. So kind of to a diagonal from me. And directly right is a little sitting area with a couch. I
Okay.
I step 1 foot out of the room and I stopped dead in my tracks because on the couch, right out of my peripheral vision, is a man sitting on the couch. I know. I know. The hairs go up on the back of my neck when I even talk about it. So I literally do a double take because I'm like alone. My house was dark. It was cold.
Did you feel yourself freeze up?
I literally, and in the movies, okay, you know how in the movies they freeze and you're like, what are you doing?
Like
You
you
should be
dumb
running.
lady. Yeah, like run.
I'm going to tell you what, when something like this happens, your brain doesn't fathom what's happened. So it can't process. It's like it literally just goes,
It shuts
and just
down.
shuts down.
Yeah.
So I did a double take and I kid you not, this dark, what I call a male figure is sitting and he has his hands crossed like this, just sitting on his lap.
All cash. Like
Just
it's his house
totally
or like he's an
cash,
invited visitor. Oh,
totally cash. So I like sort of stumble back. I look again because at this point I'm like, I'm out of my mind. Did somebody drug me? Like, what the hell? And he's gone. I could not move from that spot. I stood there probably a solid 5 minutes because it was so, oh my gosh, like your heart races even thinking about like the fact that something like that could exist. And to be that close to it, whew, I know. Okay. So I'm through the
nope.
hard part.
Negatory.
So that was and that was probably one of the most awful experiences I've had. And I've actually been around really evil people and really evil things before, but never in this particular form. So like I've been at a party one time where I just had this overwhelmingly gut-wrenching feeling about this guy. And I'm glad I left. Because I think I'm trying to remember his name. Actually, no, I won't remember his name because I'll call someone out. But I think I
Right?
remember
I'm trying
him.
not to say names either.
I think I remember finding out about him raping someone.
So
this is
did we go to school with him?
That might be a different episode.
Okay. So it's not the same person I'm thinking of that we used to hang out with. And
it might be. I'm just okay.
Okay.
That's a sidebar. Sidebar.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
Quit it.
Can't so do it. The point of that story is to let you guys understand, like, I have deep energy shifts with people who are not good people. Like I can within 30 seconds of talking to someone, just be like,
your vibe is bad.
You're wrong for me. Mm-hmm. That was nothing compared to how I felt around this form. Like this form was trying to hurt us, is what I felt like.
Really? Even sitting all casual like it was?
But that's what made it worse in my mind, is that he was very comfortable, or she, I don't know, but it was very comfortable, like it had been there. And that's what bothered me to my core, is like, how long has it been in the house with me and my kids? I'm all by myself.
Yeah.
So finally, it's like 5 minutes later. I swear the time just goes like so wonky. And it finally hits me and I like break down crying. I run upstairs. My dad's in a dead sleep, him and his wife. And he can corroborate this story because it scared the crap out of my dad. And I said, Dad, someone's in the house. I don't know what happened. I can't. I'm crying. I'm like, he's like in his underwear. He like,
Yeah,
he
he
has
probably
no.
thinks somebody was trying to rob you or
Oh,
something.
he flew down the stairs. Every light was turned on. Every room was checked. Every crevice, every corner, every cupboard. And of course, there's nothing, you know. So I call Nathaniel because this is when he had just got his phone. And I said, I've never asked you for this, but I need to tell you what's happening. And I was so upset. He was going to go to his first sergeant and say, I need to go home because I was hysterical at this point. Like, like couldn't catch my breath. And he's like, no. He's like, let me say a really quick prayer. Like, cause we're very religious. And he's like, let me say a really quick prayer, but stay on the phone with me and just, let me do this. And I think at this point, like with my dad there and everything, I finally had calmed down. My dad's like, okay, what do you want me to do? And I said, I can't go back to sleep. I said, I can't even function. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. It took me, I want to say like a year before I could sleep with the lights off. To that degree. I know, because you have to understand, it's like, there's evil people and then there's evil entities, and they're on a completely different wavelength.
I mean, I guess I can understand that because whenever I would feel my presence around, I would have the light on. I guess I got really good at being in denial, especially with like the other things that I had to deal with in my life, like people and.
But see, that's the difference between you and I is I couldn't deny what happened. And then it created this weird like crevice of anxiety that I never had before. And you and I have talked about this, like those experiences make you feel like you are a little bit crazy because, who else is talking about having these experiences? Like, who else do you know that's like, oh yeah, Melorie, I totally had this too. Like, you and I have discussed this and been like, that happened to you too? Like, what the heck,
I guess that makes sense. Like, maybe that's why I developed such crazy anxiety from tamping down, from denying.
Wow. Wait, we're having a therapy session right now?
I feel like my therapist should have figured this out for me, but yeah I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I never really thought of it that way. I just kind of had to ignore it.
And it's strange because, when we were in high school and growing up, we're strong people. Like you and I have like strong presences about us.
Yeah.
We're kind, we're generous, but we know who we are. We're very like grounded.
And I'll freaking hit you if you.
I consider myself an extremely grounded person. I don't think people would ever look at me and be like, oh, she's just, she's out there. No one says that. Yeah. I'm like super logical, actually. For being as religious as I am, I'm very logical. Like I'm very science driven and like, I love biology and science, and I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff as a religious person because it all makes sense to me.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. It's like you're religious, but you're not crazy.
I'm not like a zealot. Yeah,
like things need to make sense to you.
Right. Yeah. Which is why when it happened, and this is again, I'll say it again, your brain doesn't register that experience. It doesn't know if it's a real experience or like watching a scary movie experience.
Yeah.
So your person, your brain, your mentality, your whatever it is, your presence, your spirit has a hard time reconciling that experience with reality.
Yeah, because it's not reality.
I mean, it is technically.
It is, but it's not the reality that it knows 99.999% of the time.
Yeah. Because it's not the physical reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my, creepy experience. And it was so scary. I didn't tell anyone. Nathaniel knew what happened, and he was always generous about it. He didn't care about leaving the lights on. And I mean, for us being such avid scary movie watchers, I didn't watch a scary movie for like 3 years because I felt like
Oh, see,
that would
that's
bring,
funny to me because I still watched scary movies. I was still obsessed with it, even through everything that I've gone through
denial,
past
babe.
that one. But it wasn't really denial. I guess it was more like that was a safe scary, whereas that had a resolution. The movie had a resolution. The killer either got killed or disappeared back into the woods. It was fake. It
That's
was a
true.
fake,
That's true.
it
I
wasn't
Yeah.
happening to me.
I guess I don't know. It just for me it felt like if I'm participating in it, it was like opening a door
And
for
that's what my
like,
mom would always tell me. Like,
yeah.
if you watch those scary movies, you're going to keep seeing this
Oh,
crazy thing. I'd be like, but it would happen when I wasn't watching a scary movie. It would happen when I was, like, I'll tell later on, like when I was driving to Home Depot. Like,
it's
I'm
sitting in
not
the back
trying
seat. Sitting in the back seat.
exactly,
Yeah.
like, so I don't think, I think me acknowledging it, like literally acknowledging um the
That
exact thing,
right.
that brings more energy. But if I'm just watching a scary movie that has nothing to do with the man, it
Right.
has to do with freaking Diana from that one Lights Out movie, that crazy
Yeah.
lady. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
Dirty
like,
Diana. Yeah.
I always call her that, Dirty Diana. But yeah, like it's not going to bring it about. I don't know.
Well,
I
I
can't even
felt that
explain it. I
way.
can't
I
explain
felt
it.
that way though too. Like, I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like it was still there and like could hear me.
That makes sense because I do believe that too. I believe
Yeah.
it's always there listening,
Like hanging out with you,
waiting for its chance. Yeah.
waiting to be like, oh, she's vulnerable. And we talked about this too. Like, those experiences happen so often when we're like exhausted,
Oh,
when
yeah.
when we're very vulnerable to like outside influence, when we've had a long week, when we're stressed out, whatever. And I find that when I talk to other people about it, they say the same thing. They're like, it always happens to me when I'm just like overtired. And
Well, I
you
noticed that it always happened to me like when things were bad with my ex-husband. Um,
that's right.
or if when he was in a really bad like mood, or we were arguing a lot, or after we separated, if I knew he was coming to visit the kids, or if it was weird because he lived out of state, like literally I would know when he was coming before he even told me he was coming, because
Ooh,
the man would come around more, and it was like the man knew already.
I just
So
got
he was
chills
like,
on my
she's going to get
spine.
weak. Yeah, she's going to be upset, she's going to be weak, she's going to be scared, so I got to
And
just come at her.
so you can't contribute the man to Anthony or to your
No, I
ex.
just think he uses Anthony. Well, I guess Anthony doesn't really make me weak anymore, doesn't really make me emotionally weak anymore. But
Right.
when he did, the man used that weakness
Hmm.
as a way to pop up more, or as a way to attack me even harder.
Right. And that's why right. And I agree with that because when I had my experience, I think I was vulnerable. I was alone
Yeah,
and
and he was gone for the first time. This
he
is
was
the
gone for the
first time you
first
guys were apart,
time in
because you
four
guys were
years.
married for a while
We were
before he
married.
went.
Yeah. So, we were married, what, 5 years, I think.
Before he
Five,
joined.
5 years, I think. Yeah. Before he joined. So we had a whole life together. And, um, like I said, I've always been in tune with like energies and people's presences, and always knowing like, okay, this is a good person, this isn't a bad person. Or I would get gut feelings about like, oh my gosh, sometimes I'd be driving and I would get this gut feeling like, just turn off here. um and I don't always have a reason for it, but I always follow it because I was at Walmart when Adelaide was a baby, and I was followed by this guy, and I kept seeing him in every aisle,
Oh,
and I kept getting a creepy feeling, and he ended up following me outside. I think he was trying to kidnap Adelaide.
oh my God.
Yeah. And I kept, and this gut feeling, and I thought, no, I'm in Walmart, I'm in a public place, nothing's going to happen. Oh, stuff still happens. So I had this gut feeling. And so I remember I put her in, I locked the doors to walk around. He pulls up in his car behind my truck to block me in. Yeah. So
I have to pee all of a sudden. Like, that's making me have to pee.
This is why we have to do this podcast, because I cannot be the only person who has these experiences. You cannot be the only person who has these experiences.
No, I know there's other people out there. There's gotta be. We're not the only two weirdos in the world. No.
No, we are quite weird. But okay, so since we have gotten down to the nitty gritty of our experiences, and I cannot wait for you to talk more about the man, because some of the stories you've told me, like, still chill my bones. Like,
I'm trying to remember all of them because there's so many that it just became like an everyday thing, literally an everyday, multiple times a day thing. He was just another member of the family. Well, the good man was, not the bad man, but
right.
I'm trying to remember them. I'm remembering the big ones, like the scary, scary ones, or the ones that happened a lot. But yeah, I could probably
even those
tell a
ones,
story every time.
Even those ones, Melorie, like when people hear them, I mean, they might call CPS on us. They might be concerned, and they might commit us because they're creepy. They're just creepy as heck.
Well, let me just preface it by saying I have a full-time job and I am a fully functioning.
She's college educated.
Yeah.
She's raised 3 children.
Partly, yeah.
She's married to an amazing person. You know, we're not mentally unstable people. I know we joke about it, but it really is. And it's funny because I find both of us to be like logically and sound mind people. Like, we think very logically. Like, we just have these experiences
Oh, please, if somebody could explain it to me in a non-spiritual sense and tell me scientifically, oh, this is because of this, by all means. What
I really want, and what I hope in the future for the podcast, is that other people write in with their experiences, or even join us and share those experiences.
That would be awesome.
Because I think there's a lot.
Oh, I
think there's a lot of people who have experienced. I do not like the word supernatural, because that makes me think of like aliens.
That's one of my favorite TV shows. Like, why don't you like it?
Gosh, I know.
Hurts me to my core.
Dean is delicious, but I don't like supernatural because I think it's taboo to say that now. I would just like to say this is reality. This is really frickin' scary reality, that we live so close with these spirits, because we're spirits as well, is what I think. We live like, so we have close.
A soul, or like,
yeah, like we have a soul. So like, my personal belief is that we were spirit children who then gained a body. So like, we came to earth, we gained our body, we're having this earthly experience. A lot of Christians believe that.
And then you return back to your spirit.
And then you return back and you're made perfect. But because we're spirits first, we're so entangled with everything that is spiritual, meaning good and bad.
Okay, I believe that too.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. That's why I'm like, if you don't even have to be religious or Christian, even if you thought in energies, like, we're made of energy. We know that our atoms are energy. So our energy is always going to be entangled with good, bad, and middle of the road energies. That's just what everything is made up of.
Yeah.
And
so you don't even have to believe in a spiritual world like God or, anything, a higher being. It's just, if you even believe in science, you can still believe that this could happen to you.
Say hi to Ephraim. Say hi.
Oh, hello, Ephie.
All right, get out of here.
I feel like there's always food all over his face every time I see him. He's constantly eating.
If I had his life. All right, shut the door. Go on, shut the door. You don't want to be out here.
He doesn't want to hear this.
No, you don't. He doesn't want to hear this. But yeah, I think religion aside, or even spirituality aside, I think a lot of people can relate to, like, man, I had this experience that you can't really explain in physicality, in physical terms, because it doesn't exist in physical terms.
Yeah. Which
is why you and I are obsessed with scary movies.
Well, yeah, it's you can't explain it. It doesn't really normally happen. And it's just fun too. It's also fun
Yeah.
to be scared. That's why I love them. It's
If
fun to be scared when it's a safe scared, when it's on the screen and it
right.
can't touch you, and it's just some dumb bimbo
I
running
just
down the
want
road getting killed.
to
And it's not me, the dumb bimbo getting
with
killed.
breasts that are 10 times larger than they should ever be, and she's naked for
I mean, like,
absolutely no reason.
I feel like that's me too, but like I wouldn't run away. I would try to be smart and not
We
get
would
killed.
literally be, have you seen that little meme? And it's like, oh, what a white person does, and then what a black person does, and the black person goes after. He runs from the spirit, because they're like, we don't play around with this. And
like I'm not going to deal with that.
The white person runs towards
it.
the spirit, and everyone's dying laughing because it's so true in all the movies.
I know,
But
it's such a stereotype.
yeah, I love it. So, yeah, I guess that wraps up the first episode. I mean, I hope we didn't jabber on too much, but I think it's important that we share those experiences so people don't think that we're being, what's the word? Like cliche, or like doing this to just get listeners. Like, we have our own experiences that we'll continue to share.
And to be honest, I had to think a long time before I even asked you to do this about whether I wanted to talk about the man, because like I said, the more I talk about him, the more he comes around.
Yeah.
So I've had to prepare myself mentally. Okay, dummy, you're going to invite him back into your life, because he hasn't been around a lot recently.
Are you hoping though that maybe, like everything else, when you talk about it, it takes some of the power out of it? Like,
I wish that was the case, but it doesn't.
It
brings more power to it.
Well, yeah. Okay. So if Malorie's not on episode 2, it's because she was committed.
But I mean, honestly, he still comes around. I still see him, but I just ignore it. I still feel him. I just ignore it. And I mean, he hasn't been around a lot, but he has been.
And honestly, my mom told me that one time. She goes, yeah, they're here all the time.
Yeah.
You just have to you're either susceptible to them or not, which is why your daughter saw him, because younger kids are more pure and susceptible to spiritual interactions. So they see them and feel them more actually than we do, which is why I always believe when kids say like, oh, there's a monster under my bed or in my closet, they're talking about what I
probably
believe
something real that they saw.
Some sort of spirit. Felt. Yeah. Or felt. Yeah. All right. So what are we going to talk about next episode?
We wanted to go more into like our favorite scary story that we've heard, maybe either read in a book, heard it on another podcast, something like that, something that we got super scared by and it was our favorite one. Also, I would like for us to give like another accounting of our own personal scary story, just kind of until we run out of our own. I don't think I'll ever run out of my own, because it pretty much happens to me on a regular basis still.
And I'll say this, I've also had very positive experiences, so we can talk about those as well. I've had a lot of spiritually, I'll say that in quotation marks, spiritually positive things happen that will still creep you out.
Yeah, because they're still creepy because they're not normal. But they weren't negative.
Right. Yeah. So we could do both. Okay,
God,
cool.
Now that you didn't even tell me that. Now I got to think about those. I can't even.
Well, you know what? We're learning as we go, and
yeah, that's true.
I think the main point is that we just want people to share. I've already got people who are like, "Oh, I totally have a story. I'm going to email you." So I'd like to share those experiences from other people too.
Yeah, me too.
All right, are we signing off?
Yeah. Okay. So this has been Frickin Scary with Holly and Melorie. Hope you liked it. Keep listening.
Listen to our one episode at least.
And spirits, if you're listening, don't hurt us.